Welcome to part 2 of our series called The Tithe is Wrong, here at the lab. Please join me in welcoming Eve.
Thank you, Adam. You are very kind.
You are welcome, Eve. Let's begin. One of the most heavily debated doctrines of the modern church is the doctrine of the tithe. Many Christians accept that the law of tithing, as other Jewish laws, was abolished upon Jesus' crucifixion when he fulfilled the Old Testament law.
Others believe that because Jesus spoke about tithing, he was instructing his followers to continue the practice, and for many, not only is the tithe still an active doctrine, it is proof of one's commitment to God.
For the most part, Christians do not follow Jewish community laws such as the extensive dietary restrictions in the Old Testament, for example, and tithing was part of that group of laws. So why do so many Christians follow this practice while ignoring others? And what is tithing anyway?
The doctrine is a simple one. The believer is required to give 1/10 of their earnings or wages to their home church. The word tithe means simply a tenth. The doctrine is based on the following passages of Scripture. The first is Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 11,
which we read in part 1.
Yes, and the second is found in Genesis chapter 14, specifically verses 14 through 20, which says, "And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he led forth his trained men, born in his house, 318, and pursued as far as Dan. And he divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him, after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, at the vale of Shiva, the same as the king's vale. And Melchizedek king of Salem brought forth bread and wine, and he was priest of God Most High. And he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him 1/10 of all."
While these passages are indeed admonition and example, two questions must be asked. 1. Admonition and example for whom? And 2. Do these passages constitute a doctrine that should be in effect for the church? While Genesis 14, and its reference in Hebrews 7 are commonly used to bolster the claim that Christians should tithe, I think that we should take a closer look. Please take a moment to read the entire 14th chapter of Genesis. Once you've read it, beloved, consider the following.
1. That Abraham's tithe was a one-time event. There's no other biblical record of Abraham, also known as Abraham, ever tithing again.
2. Abraham's tithe was not on his personal possessions, rather it was only on the war plunder that resulted from his rescue mission for Lot, his nephew. Note, in Numbers 31, verses 31 to 41, God only required 1% of the spoils of war.
3. There's no evidence that Abraham tithed on his personal possessions to anyone at any time. As it was from the spoils of war and predated the law, Abraham's gift was not a holy tithe, from God's holy land, gathered by God's holy people under God's holy Old Covenant. For this reason alone, this example should not be used in conjunction of Malachi chapter 3.
4. Abraham kept nothing for himself, he gave everything back. Genesis 14, verse 21-23, is the key text.
5. Abraham's tithe is not quoted anywhere in the Bible to endorse tithing to Israel or to the church. If Abraham is an example for Christians to give 10% to God, then he should also be an example for Christians to give the other 90% to Satan, or to the king of Sodom.
Thanks to Dr. Russell E. Kelly, PhD, for that one.
Yes. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Please note that we are purposefully not dealing with the identity of Melchizedek in this series. That discussion is for another time, and will only serve as a distraction from our central theme. Well, we hope that we have given you some information to consider before you write your next check, or swipe your card at your church's ATM. Not convinced yet? Well, stay tuned because part 3 is next. That was a good one, Eve, ha ha. Giving to Satan.
Yes, Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Wait, the camera is still on.
Oops. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Oops is right.